That's costing some thought.
That was nice, right? I live, I can. Yeah, it wasn't pretty right. How much is it? Yeah. Is he? Yeah, I do. Yeah, nice guy.
Okay, I'm going to get the meeting started. Becky is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we're going to move on to the good news portion with Mr. Our Safety Resource Officer, Chad Rogers. If you could please step up. That's you, Chad.
Good morning. So you're all aware that we had applied for that school safety grant a month ago or so. Got an email yesterday morning stating that we were awarded almost the entire amount. We originally applied for $240,000 roughly, and that was to be split among the 6 buildings and the Board of Ed office for cameras. Everything was approved except for the Board of Ed because it was not a qualifying group. It doesn't house students, so forth. So we have to get some signatures, and once that's sent back, start moving forward with it.
Thank you. Thank you. And we got, what, about approximately $210,000. Okay. Thank you, Chad. I know you worked really hard on that. You did that through, and we appreciate that. So thank you very much. Any revisions or approval of the agenda? Motion to approve.
Second. Roll call. Abbott.
Aye.
Benzing.
Aye.
Brooks. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then I need a motion to move to closed session to consider material exempt for discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute, attorney-client privilege pursuant to PA 267 and 1967, Section 8, subsection H.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call. Abbott.
Aye.
Benzing.
Aye.
Brooks. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Are we recording? I hope so. Mine's not starting yet. Tim, here, how do I know? It starts. Okay. I can't, it's not starting.
closed session at 10:05. First discussion item is, we have some questions for the attorney about non-renewal process, so if you kind of explain that a little bit to us. So.
Yeah, I think concern was expressed as to whether or not any of our administrators could have been terminated last Monday. And the answer is no, not without board approval. That all of the administrative contracts have a provision in them that allow for a notice of any charges, and if charges are appropriate, they're brought before the board, and then the board, considers, whether or not any recommendation of termination during the term of the contract is appropriate. My understanding is none of that happened, or none of that was even put in motion on Monday. I understand you guys have been fielding some rumors in the community that someone was terminated on Monday or may have been terminated. Couldn't have happened under their contract, and to my knowledge, didn't happen, and have no notice that any of that happened. So then the next question is for administrators that were in the last term of their contract, could they have been non-renewed on Monday? And the answer to that is no. Again, that's a board action. So to non-renew, which is at the end of an administrator's contract, in order for it not to be renewed another year or another 2 years or however many years, the state statute, so 1229 in the revised school code, for administrators that are certified, require a 90-day process. Pursuant to that process, a recommendation 90 days before the end of the contract, which would have been June 30th, 90 days before that, a recommendation would have to come from the lead administrator to the board to consider non-renewal. Now there may have been messages given Monday to individuals that process might be initiated, that there may be a recommendation. I don't know whether, exactly what was said. That may have happened, but in order to actually effectuate a non-renewal, once a recommendation for non-renewal is made to the administration, or from the administration to the board, at that point the board has to pass a resolution saying that for 30 days we're going to consider non-renewal, and we need to have a meeting with that administrator to determine whether or not to non-renew. My understanding is that didn't happen Monday. I looked at a draft of the minutes. That couldn't have happened on Monday based on the minutes. So that process was never set in motion. But how the process works is if a recommendation for non-renewal is made to the board, and the board passes a resolution and says to the administrator, we're going to consider non-renewal for 30 days, the administrator then has a full due process opportunity to meet with the board and to explain his or her side of the story to determine whether or not that's appropriate. And then after that 30-day period, but before 60 days at the end of the contract, then the board has to meet again and decide in open session whether or not to non-renew. So no non-renewal could have happened by state statute on Monday. To my knowledge, no process was put in place to non-renew any administrators. So again, no administrators were or could have been fired on Monday. That's your decision. And looking at the draft of the minutes, that didn't happen. No administrators were non-renewed or even put in a position where there was a 90 or a 30-day period to consider non-renewal on Monday, because you guys didn't take action to do that. So, if that's the case and an administrator's in the last year of the contract, then those contracts by statute automatically renew another year. So those administrators that are in the final year of their contract, that didn't haven't entered into an extended contract, but have not gone through this 90-day process, those administrators now will have another year on their contract, will have employment at least for another year. I'm assuming your administration at that point can enter into negotiations with that administrator to determine exactly what the terms or conditions of that continued employment would be. If you don't reach consensus, then what currently exists as the terms and conditions of employment stay the same for the terms and conditions of employment for the next academic year. Does that answer your questions?
Yes,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, first discussion item is Ryan Rhodes. I had to put him on a non-disciplinary paid leave on Tuesday regarding the allegations that were made against him at the board meeting on Monday evening. So I just wanted to, I mean, you guys all know that, but I didn't
Right.
have any discussion about it.
Yeah, we had no choice. We had to do that.
So if I could jump in here for a moment. Whenever we have allegations that are made against our lead administrator that are serious, in order to protect the integrity of any investigation that occurs, it's appropriate to place that lead administrator on non-disciplinary paid administrative leave so that there's no influence peddling that might occur. We have no information that Mr. Rhodes would ever even do that. But as a matter of course, we recommend to boards that they place the lead administrator on non-disciplinary administrative leave to avoid the appearance of that any investigation that's conducted is not done in an objective fashion. Now, I understand in this circumstances there are cross allegations of misconduct. So we have allegations that have been raised against the interim superintendent. This interim superintendent has raised allegations of inappropriate conduct against other administrators. And in this circumstances, it makes the most sense to hire a third party, totally unrelated to the board, to come in and do an independent investigation to determine what the facts are. I do not want any board members investigating any facts. I do not want any board members commenting about these allegations in the public. I want you to give authority to Mr. Simpson to give a directive to the administrators not to comment and the teachers and the employees not to comment about these matters in the public. We have people's reputations at stake, and it's important to know the facts before we make decisions, whether it be on social media or in the paper or anywhere else. So, my recommendation to you is that you retain a third-party investigator to come in and investigate all the allegations to determine the facts. You guys are the decision makers. So once the facts are brought to you, then at that point we can determine whether there's any misconduct by any party. And then at that point we can choose multiple different courses of action from the continuum of training to mediation to disciplinary action. Okay? So we'll have that full range of potential responses that can occur, but we can't make any of those decisions against any of the allegations that have been brought against the differing parties without first retaining someone to objectively come in here outside the community who has no connections to any of the parties, has no connections to you, to investigate the facts as objectively as possible. So I guess the first thing I would suggest is that the board consider passing a motion to give the board president authority to issue directives to staff to not comment about these matters in the public, or that to do so could result in disciplinary action up to and including discharge.
Not just to the public, but in general.
Or each other, or
not
potential
me.
witnesses.
Yes.
And the reason for the directive is to maintain the integrity of the investigation. The public needs confidence that any investigation that is completed is done so based on facts, not based on political influence.
All right, Ray, we have a report from Recon Management Group, and they are out of Bingham Farms in Michigan here. I talked to them yesterday. Initially the proposal was for 10 interviews for approximately $2,500. I think we're going to run into a lot more interviews. And he was saying, well, if it's 10 interviews, maybe 2 to 3 week process. but I think we're gonna run into a lot more interviews. Have you worked with this group before?
I personally have not worked with this group before, but I'm recommending this group to you for the following reasons. This group did perform an investigation into allegations of misconduct by a board member at a different school district in the state of Michigan. They were thorough, they were objective, they issued a report based on facts, no political influence. They have exceptional experience in performing human resource related investigations. They have no connection to anyone, to any of you, no connection to anyone in the community, and don't really have much of a connection with me. They worked extensively with another premier law firm in the state, doing investigations on behalf of that law firm in the private sector. We have experience with them doing public sector investigations, and based on the experience and the qualifications of the investigators, I consider them to be highly professional, and I'd recommend them for your approval.
Okay, one question I have is, I mean, they're gonna do interviews. Are we gonna make sure that all this information goes to you? Because I don't want those interviews. I want people to be able to speak freely when they're being interviewed and be truthful and not be afraid of retribution. And that's very important in this due process as far as I'm concerned.
Well, we have policies in place that prohibit retaliation against anyone from engaging in inappropriate questioning and answering. So if someone's engaging in the investigatory process and there's any allegation of retaliation, there's a mechanism in place for assuring that does not happen. I will certainly work with Raycon to assure that they're following the legal requirements in the state, but I am not going to be involved in influencing their decision-making in any way. I want them to collect the facts as objectively as possible, and them to bring the facts to you so that you can make an appropriate determination on what to do based on the facts.
I think what Tim was saying
I guess
is have them report to you.
when they're done with their investigation,
Yeah, they
to
will.
turn over all materials to your office and then give us the report. I'm concerned that some FOIA, that somebody wants to tell the truth and that their interview could be FOIA'd and
Well,
that
any
it's out in the public, so.
any information that is subject to FOIA will be subject to FOIA.
Okay.
Okay? It's going to be important that the public have confidence that the process be transparent, and so I will certainly work with the board and with them to communicate from a legal perspective, but if we get a FOIA request in, we will have to, if investigatory notes or et cetera are subject to FOIA, we will disclose those pursuant to that state statute.
Okay.
Do they record the interviews? Are they recorded, or?
I don't know. I'm going to let them use their normal procedure that they normally utilize in making sure that they accurately record the investigations that are made. But I'm also going to make sure that if what they produce is subject to FOIA, that it is disclosed pursuant to FOIA. So we're not gonna hide the ball on anything here. We're gonna make sure that everything's transparent.
Any other discussion? Questions?
Regarding the FOIA, anything that's personal information per normal FOIA can be redacted, or if there is
Yeah, so
confidential
if,
information,
there's certain exclusions to FOIA. So for example, if the allegations, I'm not passing judgment on the allegations, but if some of them, for example, involve student issues, would identify students, then obviously there's a FERPA exception to that information being disclosed. If their personal addresses or medical conditions or anything of a personal nature, and I'm not saying that there is, I have no idea, but I'm just saying the normal exemptions that are allowable under FOIA would be followed with any FOIA request.
With a broad brush, if anybody was being interviewed and they were fearful of disclosing personal information such as you mentioned, they don't have to be because it wouldn't be released with a FOIA, it would be redacted, if it was applicable.
If a FOIA exception applies, then the information will not be disclosed.
All right, thank you.
But we will assure, consistent with board policy, we put safeguards in place that no one is retaliated against for being honest with these investigators.
Any other questions about recon management? All right, the next discussion item, I asked Mr. Brad Hamilton to come and meet with us today. Brad is, well, Brad, why don't you come on up and introduce yourself? You probably do a better job than I can.
Brad Hamilton, before I start, Ray, please tell Lisa I said hello.
Definitely will.
Her and I go way back with way too many things. In fact, this is reminding me of some of those things, and it's like deja vu. I'm not sure it was some fun stuff. My name is Brad Hamilton. I'm a retired school superintendent. I spent 7 years in Deerfield as superintendent, 8 years before that as a middle school principal in Addison, 10 years before that as a teacher in Eager and Madison, where I met Lori. We have a lot of weird things that we could talk about, right? And then I was superintendent for 13 and a half years in Grass Lake. After I retired, I was 6 months interim at Onstead, and last year I was interim superintendent in Manchester. I was asked to come here tonight to listen, and that's what I intend to do. I will not be making any decision one way or the other tonight, because I told my grandkids I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't make that decision until I talk to them. Okay. Recently I've been consulting. I have my own LLC. I do strategic planning. I'm currently doing it for Concord Community Schools. I've done it for Western Schools. I've done it for the Jackson Downtown Development Authority, the Jackson Chamber of Commerce, Napoleon, maybe I said them, Illinois ISD. Last year I did consulting with Eager Schools, and the best and most fun consulting I've done ever. That was with a group of 18 teachers on developing teacher leaders, which was a lot of fun. So that's kind of a little bit about my background, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody may have. I have relatives in Tecumseh. Some of you probably have had my brother do plumbing for you. He retired a couple of years ago and worked for Naga Plumbing and Heating for years. Greg Hamilton. I have other relatives, so I've been very, I've learned to keep my mouth shut at family functions the last couple of years, and not render an opinion, no matter which way I thought things were going. I will say this beforehand. I don't know what's going to happen with me. I don't know what's going to happen with Tecumseh. But from an outsider looking in, I'm just going to tell you this. I see way more similarities in the two, if you want to call it the two opposing sides, than I see differences. Way more similarities than I see differences. And even though I've been told that there's a curricular issue here and there's this kind of issue here, I disagree. I don't think there's a curriculum issue here at all. I think it's an instructional strategy issue. How you're going to instruct students. Okay, that's the issue. I hear about tradition, and I kind of chuckle to myself because I think back tradition is when I went to school. There's nothing traditional about schools in this country right now whatsoever. There is no such thing as a traditional curriculum, a traditional school anymore. It's gone. Okay. Someone asked me about project-based learning. My answer was, I have 2 grandkids in high school who have been doing project-based learning since they're in 1st grade. They're bright kids. They are the highest scorers in their schools on the ACT and the SATs. Do I like project-based learning? Absolutely. But I also understand that it can't be force-fed And that every learning situation does not require project-based learning. You have to understand that we're here for students and kids. And so the instructional strategies that you employ to get knowledge across has to be the right fit for that learning situation. If the right fit is a more traditional approach, quote, traditional approach, then you use that. If the right fit is more project-based learning or any other buzzword out there, because project-based learning has been around since I was in school. We just call it different things. And I was a visionary learner, or an auditory learner, or a tactile learner, or a kinesthetic learner. And then it evolved into something else. And then you got all these other buzz terms like competency learning and competency grading and standard-based stuff. It's just retreaded from 40 years ago. It was mastery learning back then. It was something else back then. So I think that the differences that this community has nothing to do with curriculum. It has everything to do with credibility and trust and climate. That's it. And we can work on curriculum, we can work on competency-based and project-based learning all day long and never solve the issues that are going on in this community until you start having trust, until you start establishing some more credibility, until you listen to teachers. And I've been in this community for a long time, or around it, and I know some of these people, and they're good people, and they know what they're doing. The question is, I'm not sure if I can help you or not, because I can't help you if you don't want me to help you. If you want me to help you, I think I can. But if you don't want me to, if you think you have all the answers, I can't help you. And that's the bottom line. I don't need this in my life right now, but I will do it. I'll help you out. But I got other things I'd rather do, quite frankly. Okay? So the decision is not going to be my decision. The decision is going to be your decision. Do you want help? Do you have all the answers? If you have all the answers, I can't help you. Do you want help? Then maybe I can. I'll think about it. But if you have all the answers, if you think that the course that you're on right now is the right course for this community, then I can't help you. But I think I can help you get some more trust and some credibility if you focus on the right stuff. And I think my strategic planning background helps me, because strategic planning is just basically, in a nutshell, it's defining your current state, defining your desired state, and working on strategies to fill that gap between where you're at and where you want to be. And I think that's what we have to concentrate on. I'm not excited about the day-to-day operations of Tecumseh schools. You have administrators who can do that. Okay, I've evolved to the point where I was a young superintendent at Deerfield and went to superintendent meetings for the first time and was just absolutely appalled by some of the superintendents that were there. They just ticked me off because they would say things like, been there, done that. Been there, done that. And all us young superintendents were like, let's go, let's do this, let's do something different. Been there, done that. Well, now I'm at the stage of my life where it's like, been there, done that. And now I get it. I got to make a bunch of phone calls to a bunch of people and apologize to them because I get where they're coming from. Okay? Last year at Manchester, great community, did my student teaching there, so it's almost like full circle. But they had some issues. So I'm also going to let everybody know right up front that if I decide to do this, when I was the interim in Onstead, one of the things that I said I would do as an interim is protect the reputation of the superintendent who was there before. We have to be Mark Haig, who's now in Lattimore ISD. Because it's so easy to dump on people when they're gone. Simple. Okay? I know I got dumped on when I left both places. Right? And then I took over at Manchester. Much tougher situation for Sherry Van Etter, who then went to Washington ISD to become assistant superintendent. So I had to walk on eggshells because I like her a lot. But her and I are completely different in how we think on things. And so many things that they did, I said, you're not going to sustain yourselves if you do that. We've got to change it. And so I had to be careful because I didn't want to mess with her reputation. She's a nice lady. And the same thing would be true here. Same thing would be true here. The very first thing that I would do as interim superintendent is make sure that we kept the integrity of the people who were here before in place. It's not my job to run stuff. So, interim superintendents have a lot of different roles. If you want someone to come sit in a chair, get paid a whole lot of money that they don't deserve, and do nothing, find somebody else. I won't do it. If you want someone to come in and roll up their sleeves and try to look at the big picture stuff, not the operational day-to-day stuff, I've been there, done that, but the big picture stuff, the trust issues, the credibility issues, so hopefully not legal issues, then I can do that. So that's me, that's who I am. Guys, let me know. And
How long were you at Manchester?
all year,
For a full year?
yeah,
How about the prior to that?
6 months. I would never do a whole year again.
I was like,
No. That was Manchester made me realize why I retired to begin with.
and we know we don't know it all, by the way.
But Manchester is a great place, and we got a lot of things accomplished. A lot of good things. But I'm not interested in long term. I can't even do it long term because when you retire from the school system, you can make 1/3 of your final average compensation, and that's whatever it is. I probably have to call Mespers and find out what it is anymore. I think it goes up a little bit every year. I don't pay attention to it. So there's no way I could do a whole year anyway, unless I made $5 a day or something like that. I know, I'm sure. So
I will just say to you, in my experience, I don't want Mr. Hamilton's presence here to suggest that there's been any sort of decision-making concerning Superintendent Rhodes. But in my experience, when you're engaging in allegations of this nature, they wind up being a little more lengthy than anticipated. So it's unlikely that this matter will be fully, competently and thoroughly investigated, say within a 1 week or 2 week period. And so it does make enormous sense to consider during the interim, during this investigation, hiring someone of Mr. Hamilton's caliber to come in and assist with the management of the district in the interim.
Plus the investigation more than doubled.
So you're interested in 6 months or so through the
Not
summer,
or so.
basically, right?
6 months
Or less.
or less.
Or less.
The less would be the better,
Can we do it on a month-by-month thing, or?
probably. I do have a couple obligations that I can't get out of. A couple strategic planning that I've already committed myself to, but they're evening. As far as I know right now, they're evening things. I hope they're not during the day. So I have to do those because I've committed.
I mean, I did speak to a teacher from Manchester yesterday, and she said that you were a straight shooter and get it done, and she highly recommended it. So.
I paid a couple of people yesterday in Manchester.
Well, did you pay the superintendent of Adrian? Because he highly recommends you too.
No, I didn't, but I did pay their assistant. I did.
Okay. So, and you have the email, the board has the email from what Bob and Adrian said, so.
It was just kind of them. I appreciate that.
I thought I'd pass that on.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's move on to action items. We need to vote to place Ryan Rhodes on non-disciplinary paid leave. Can I please get a motion for that?
So moved.
Support.
Again, this is done just in order to protect the integrity of the investigation that needs to occur. Nothing should be otherwise inferred by this action.
Yeah, it's not hot in here anymore.
Roll call. Abbott.
Aye.
Benzing.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then we need a motion to approve Recon Management Group to start the investigation of the allegations that, against Mr. Rhodes and Mr. Rhodes' counter allegations.
So moved.
Support. Oh, no,
Sorry, make that thing. I want to make an amendment that Ray's firm handles all that.
Okay. Yep.
So a motion to give us authority to retain Raycom to come in and do the investigation on behalf of the district?
Yes.
Yes.
I guess I'm okay with that as long as you also give authority to the board president to approve the terms, because I don't want to approve the terms of an engagement on behalf of the school district.
That's fine.
Put that in there.
You gotta amend your motion, sorry.
Amend that motion to have Trish handle the hiring of the investigation team and have the president of the school board take care of the terms of the contract.
To approve the terms and conditions of the contract.
Second.
Roll call. Abbott.
Aye.
Benzing.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The last action item, was to approve the prospective interim. I think we could maybe make a motion to, let maybe 2 or 3 of us meet with Brad and discuss things further and see if he's interested in this, and, so if I could get a motion that.
Well, 2 or 3 of you can do that anyway, but what might be helpful, if I could make a
Can
suggestion.
we all?
Yeah, what might be helpful is to give authority to 2 or 3 board members, however you want to do it, to have discussions with Mr. Hamilton and authority to engage him within a final parameter to be ultimately approved by the board.
Okay.
So in other words, give authority to 2 or 3 of you to negotiate with Mr. Hamilton on a potential engagement, with that final engagement to be ultimately approved by the board, the full board.
Are you waiting for a motion?
Yeah.
So, I move that we have 3 members approved to consult with Mr. Hamilton and bring that forward to the board.
Second.
Roll call. Abbott.
Aye.
Benzing.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
There was another motion we needed to give you authority to direct.
Yep.
That was rolled into that last one. Milt rolled it in. No.
No, to direct the staff.
The direct
Oh.
staff.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
so
right.
we need to give the board a motion to give the board president authority to issue a directive to staff to not comment to potential witnesses or the public about the allegations. Certainly that if they have information concerning the allegations, they can bring that information to the board president, but they should not be commenting about this ongoing investigation with potential witnesses or the public generally.
So moved.
Support.
And I'll just say the whole purpose for that, again, is to maintain the integrity of the investigation so that public perception is shaped based on facts, ultimately resulting from the investigation and not based on rumor or innuendo.
Roll call. Abbott.
Aye.
Benzing.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Then ultimately, once again, I'm going to direct to you guys not to comment about this matter with your spouses, with the public, with anyone, because you guys are the ultimate decision makers on the facts that will be brought to you. Try to, don't perform any independent investigation and wait for the report to come to you so that you can appropriately decision make. Okay?
When they do interviews, is it like it's a statement that their swearing is true? I mean, it's not like being in court, but when they give their word.
How does
that work?
Yeah, the investigator's not going to have authority to put people under oath.
No.
But the investigator is going to get factual information based on witness interviews, and they will be directed to answer honestly. But in the meantime, he will obviously be talking to other people and looking at other information, looking at electronic communications, etc., and making sure that what's being said to him is credible. So he will or she will be making credibility determinations based on statements, based on communications, based on documents, and any other evidence that they might uncover. Okay? But the witnesses will be directed to answer honestly.
Any other questions for Ray? Or comments? This will bring us to our public comment portion of the meeting. Please approach the podium and state your name, and the agendas are fully limited to 3 minutes.
Hey, Tim, back to say, the public, I'm sorry, I have to leave, but I gotta get back to my office. No disrespect to your comments, but please excuse me.
Yep.
Jack's time.
Yeah.
My name is Robert Heisler. I've been a citizen of Tecumseh for 30 years. My children attended Tecumseh Public Schools. I would like to know if you will violate my rights and have me removed if you don't like what I am saying, as you did Monday night to a citizen of this community during public comment. He refocused his comments back to the board as soon as instructed by you. We all digress sometimes. Then board members chose to speak to him during his allotted time. When his opinion didn't change, you had him removed after approximately 2 minutes elapsed. I am guessing none of you were removed from board meetings a year ago when the board didn't like your views. I don't know, I wasn't there. You would prefer we remain quiet during the meeting, as we should. But then you don't give us, the community that you are supposed to represent, the same respect that you would like to receive when it is our turn to speak. You have to give respect to get it. As to Mr. Lewandowski, I don't know how you can determine after less than 3 months that he won't carry out your directives. A person does not have to agree with their employer to carry out those directives. It certainly appears that you are sending, or at least allowing, the message that disagreement and/or open dialogue won't be allowed. This board has allowed the situation in this district to deteriorate even further since taking office. We are fast becoming a laughingstock of a district due to conditions and/or perceptions from within. Those conditions are fast becoming known region-wide. Your staff feels threatened. It does not matter whether the conditions are true or imagined. They will act according to their feelings. This very likely means some will seek employment elsewhere if this continues. I have been hearing that we need more students to address the imminent financial crisis. Ask yourselves, with all the turmoil that is present, why would someone want to bring their child to Tecumseh? Also, why would someone apply for employment in the current environment? If apologies are what is needed, then make them. If changes in leadership or management are the fix, then change it. You sought out this opportunity to serve. Now it is your obligation, with community help where needed, to right this ship. I just hope that long-term damage has not already happened. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Marla Curtis. I am a school choice parent. I have 2 children in this district. I was watching the news this morning and happened to catch your interview with 13 ABC, Tim, after Monday night's board meeting, where you spoke about, prior to the meeting, feeling that, you know, everything was going well and the district was headed in the right direction. Things are good here. That was your thoughts going into Monday's meeting.
It was reference to the last board meeting. I thought it was a pretty good board meeting, so.
Okay. Then you were completely blindsided during the meeting with everything that transpired. Completely blindsided tells me that you are completely disengaged with everything going on in this district. To be blindsided and not have any understanding of where your teachers, where the administrators, where the staff are at. It also then doesn't explain the email that you sent to the staff Monday morning, telling them that Ryan Rhodes is going to be the superintendent and you need to support him. You need to stand behind him and support him. So the meeting goes on. You hear some incredibly disturbing allegations from staff, from administrators, from teachers regarding Ryan Rhodes. Incredibly disturbing. And you unanimously voted to approve his appointment as superintendent, completely discounting and disregarding everything that those teachers and those administrators said to you that night. At what point, I mean, not once during that meeting, did it not dawn on you to maybe table that vote? That, wow, this is serious. Clearly it did the next day, right? Because here we are now, facing potentially a 3rd superintendent that we're going to be paying. I don't know where all of this is going to end. The last point that I want to make is the one thing that everybody in this community agreed on was the amazing teachers and administrators that we have in this district. You all disregarded that Monday night with your vote. Every single person. You discounted their allegations, you disregarded their allegations, and you disrespected every single one of them when you unanimously voted for Ryan Rhodes to be this superintendent in this district. So everybody, even those that voted for this recall, I find it very hard to believe would have voted for that.
My name is Lisa Michelin, a long-time resident of Tecumseh, and I echo Marla's comments. I really have moved past the issue of the curricular direction of the school. That doesn't seem to be the largest problem facing us anymore. Again, I share her shock and the shock, I think, of others, that it wasn't just Monday night when those 5 administrators stood in front of you and shared those allegations, that you then went ahead and appointed Brian to the superintendent's position. It's very difficult for me to reconcile what I hear from this board, that you care about the opinions of the parents and the students and the teachers, and that you are responsible for those that voted you in, and you're concerned about the financial situation of our schools. How many more superintendent salaries are we going to pay? How much more taxpayer money are we going to have go down the drain? It's really incomprehensible to me. Attorney fees, I cannot imagine what the bill for attorney fees has added up to in the 3 months that this board has been in this position. You know, I stood up on Monday night because Ryan was looking at his computer, and I made a comment that people were pouring their hearts out, and that this board was playing with the livelihoods or allowing the livelihoods of experienced, professional, dedicated teachers to be impacted. And I realize I'm not supposed to call out one person, but I have to make an exception. Suzanne, you scoffed at that comment.
What comment?
When I said that people their livelihoods were being impacted and that they were pouring their hearts out. That tells me I had to question what was being heard then by the members of this board if that was taken, if that comment, it was made light of that comment.
I'm sorry if you felt that. I did not make.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really hope that, I believe that every one of you sitting up here had good intentions when you ran for these positions. I believe that you did. And difference of opinion, I believe there's a lot of benefit and there's a lot of good that can come out of difference of opinion. But I ask you now, I don't know how to say this nicely, but you don't have the background. You don't have this experience to do this job. And you are impacting not just the livelihoods of the people that are in the school systems as employees, but there are people that are business owners, homeowners, the reputation of this community overall. I really ask you to consider if you're equipped to do the job that you've been attempting to do. You are impacting in a negative way. I want to acknowledge the passion that you had for this and the work that you did to get here, but I truly believe it's not working. And for that, I ask you to consider whether you should continue in these roles.
I'm Breck Chrisabin. I was a student of Tecumseh and I have a student at Compass. In the following weeks, as decisions are made, I encourage you to consider this direct quote from the MASB, Michigan Association of School Boards website. Listed under the question, how do school boards make decisions? The following is included. When making decisions, school boards seek the advice and counsel of the district's administrators, teachers, and other employees, as well as input from the community and the specialists with knowledge about the topic under consideration. So I hope that you will think about this and take into consideration the opinions of these people that are important in our district. Thank you.
I waited a little too long. My name is Myrna Williams, and I've been in this community since 1978 and had 2 children go through the school system. I'm sorry I'm not dressed respectfully to approach the board, I'm so sorry. I felt the need to speak to this board. I'm sure this is a very tough position for you to be in. You've been in it for 3 months, and my concern is about the students of Tecumseh Public Schools. I don't want to lose our school system. I worry about the negativity. I don't care what side you're on, who you believe in and who you don't believe in, but I do believe you all have good intentions and that you are doing this for the students, and I trust that is true. I've worked in the school system and worked under about 5 different superintendents and several different school boards, and none of us is without flaw. We make mistakes. I'm the queen of that. I used to tell my students, that's how I got to be so smart, is because I made so many mistakes. So, I just want to say, please hang in there, and I want to be part of the solution. I don't want to stomp my feet and throw tantrums. I want to be part of trying to make things better for Tecumseh Public Schools. I trust that mistakes will be made, and I trust that you are trying to fix things. I worry about the students of Tecumseh Public Schools if people are speaking negatively in their homes or communities. I wonder what these students and children and grandchildren are hearing. I don't want them to be afraid. I want them to feel like they're going to get an education at Tecumseh Public Schools. I certainly don't want to be a part of shooting ourselves in the foot. If we lose students, we're going to lose families. If we lose families and students, we're going to lose the fabulous teachers that you and I and everyone here knows we're going to lose. I want them to keep their jobs. I want them to teach our children and our students of all ages, pre-K through 12. I want them to prepare our students for the future. I am not going to speak negatively. I have made a vow to myself that I am going to speak positively about our school system. I'm not going to be part of negativity. I don't think that helps anyone. So with that said, I know that you'll continue to work. I know that you will continue to try to make things better for our community. I don't want to lose Tecumseh Public Schools. It's been a good place for my children. It was a wonderful place for me to work as a high school guidance counselor. I am proud to say I worked for Tecumseh Public Schools. So please let me know what I can do to help. Please let me know what I can do to be positive and try to be part of the solution. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Sexton. I have 2 grandchildren in Tecumseh schools. We are school of choice. We live in Tipton. We moved here about 2-3 years ago to leave Garden City schools because of this same thing. Garden City was going to be shut down by the state because the board got in there and destroyed it. I am in the process. I couldn't vote for you guys or against you guys. I'm in the process of finding a house in Tecumseh so that I will now have a choice. I just have one question for all of you. Why did you run for this office? You had campaign promises. I saw them. I have not seen you hold up any of them. Any of them. You said the other board didn't have this and didn't have that, and now you're doing the same thing. Only worse. I just hope, for my grandkids' sake, that you can change this and make this a place that wants to come. When we did our research, Tecumseh was the top in Lenawee County. Top 10 in the state. That's why we chose it. We're on the border of Onstead and Tecumseh. My daughter says, I want the best for my kids. And now look, we're like, now what do? We're back in Garden City again. Please, please think about what you're doing.
This isn't my, I'm here because I support you guys. I feel the board meetings have been one-sided for people that show up that are negative. And I cannot stand by and watch TPS go down the tubes because of the group that does not accept the results of the recall. Agree to disagree, but respect was how I roll. However, I'm not feeling it in return. I know I'm not going to change anyone's minds, but the pro-Kelly group is causing so much negativity. I stand by what I believe and fear that negativity is doing greater harm than good for TPS. The facts are, staff and community were lied to under the other superintendent. Quality staff was lost. Way too many students were lost. Not all staff was on board with it, but were unable to speak out. Those who voted for the recall are not in assisted living facilities. She resigned, and there's an agreement that she can't talk about it, and TPS, the board, can't talk about it. There'd be lawsuits. The new board reached out to Ryan Rhodes and did bring him in as an interim super to address the budget. And yes, he doesn't have education background, but they also reached out to Griff Mills to be co-superintendent, and that was the education part. But because of the train wreck on Monday, Mills has resigned, and because of accusations against Ryan Rhodes, he's been put on leave. Good job, Kelly supporters. And now we're shouting recall? Really? Why? Because the board is trying to make things right? Now, if Ryan Rhodes is guilty of what the staff has said, he needs to be gone. There will be an investigation. Despite what the Kelly supporters say, the new school board members are there for all the right reasons and are qualified. But instead of supporting them, which would be in the best interest now of the PPS and the students, the supporters are looking for any reason to make the board look bad. The board members have had children attending or that attended TPS. Others have past experience sitting on the board. There was a recall, and the reason was parents who were unhappy with what was happening went to the school board and were dismissed as a minority, and they were not going to stop the progress of the direction she was taking TPS. The pro-Kelly group of parents labeled, mocked, and accused them of wanting to take TPS back to slate boards. When pro-support when pro-Kelly group was questioned about the sites they'd come up with on Facebook, they were ridiculed and that they didn't understand satire and it was just all humor. Well, there's nothing humorous about wanting your child to have the best education, and sites like concerned Tecumseh parents holding Tim's boozy school board accountable and parents wanting to return to slate boards are not acceptable. There's going to be nothing to make better if the pro-Kelly side does not accept that the old board was recalled, and it's time for the adults to come together for the students and staff, and there'll be no TPS. I had 3 children graduate from TPS. I worked for 29 years. It's time to put students and staff first by supporting and working with the new board and stop trying to make them fail. Because if they fail, Tecumseh Public Schools fails too. And I hate to be addressing you because it's them I should be addressing. And I am sorry. If I was you, I'd get up and say, I don't need this. Just as that superintendent, you guys don't deserve this. You had the right intent. And I'm sorry I haven't been here. I'm sorry the ones that did the recall aren't here, that we're getting all this negativity. I'm sorry.
Hi, Grace McGill. Remember when I spoke about a matter of trust? And here we are. We have to trust you. We want to work with you. I saw Becky at the school that day. Remember Becky? I said, are you in this room with my guy? He's in there. Are you going to read to him? Yeah. Well, you didn't. You were in another room, but that's okay. But there's nothing. I was given the wrong room number, Grace. It was not intentional. Oh no, that's okay. But what I'm saying is good can go on, correct? Compromises can be met, but you cannot let anyone threaten our teachers like Mr. Rhodes did. The things that he has said to our teachers, the things that have gone on, is wrong. This isn't about the old school board being called, like she was saying. It has nothing to do with it. I don't really even know that much about Kelly Coffin. Doesn't really matter. What I'm concerned about, that man down there was exactly what this school needs. That's the difference you're going to see between a person who has an educational background and has all the credentials that you need to be a superintendent, and finding somebody that'll bow to every word you want them to do. I mean, you have to have some kind of balance, and each of you need to grow more in your positions, and it would really be beneficial if you could think for yourself instead of being just like this. That doesn't give diversity to this community and the school. Just going, we're getting rid of it. Now I see people coming in, writing down what room is this, what room is that, changing schools, taking the students back to all the schools. You know, my guy doesn't do that. It took me until December to settle him where he could sit in a classroom this year. I'm not willing to go through another change. If my grandson, and my granddaughter, who have lost 2 parents, they've been abandoned, are going to be jacked around constantly, I'll take them to where they won't be jacked around. And I'll put my house on the market and I'll sell it, and Tecumseh can worry about itself. I mean, I'm dedicated to my grandkids, and you need to know that. Everybody in their meetings have known that. It is about them, every bit of this. It's not about you at all. It's not about him or her. It's not about them either, or them. It's about these kids. These kids need us. They need us to unite. They need you to be happy in what you're doing. Nobody, you know what, when the day comes and the door closes, it doesn't matter what you call a school. Not really. I've known a lot of schools to change names. It's not that big a deal. It really isn't. It's a big deal to somebody who went to school and doesn't like the change, but that doesn't have to do with the students. We need to spend our money on the students, not reverting back because you promised a bunch of people that that's what you were going to do. That's kind of an empty promise. That is going to cost the school so much money. And we really don't need to spend more money. We know that. So please, please think of our kids, because they're the ones that's going to be running the country when you're old. And you want them smart. Thank you.
Okay, moving into.
My name's John Craig, 2 kids at school, Tecumseh School, and I think we just heard from a man who has a very credible and a lot of experience in this type of situation. I'm not sure what your plan would be forward if Ryan is approved to come back. Would anybody think about that? Right now you have somebody that's more than ready and more experienced than Ryan will ever have in this type of situation to possibly turn the school around. And for you to be able to find him in one day after this does not look like you made any due diligence to look for another superintendent when Ryan was hired. So it's just appalling that never got taken care of, because we could have had him at the beginning. This possibly would never be sitting here just meeting right now with you. I hope you guys think about this in the future for what he would like to do. 6 months is where you guys want to be next school system. We could look at a full-time superintendent. But what I heard from him was exactly what I would want as our interim superintendent. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Halcock. I have 2 kids at school, pretty young, so I'll make this short and sweet. I think that gentleman down there will give great guidance to what has happened. I've paid attention to everything from the very beginning till current. I chose to not speak because I hear a lot of anger. I hear a lot of distrust. I hear a lot of negativity. And that's not ever going to bring anything positive. We need to start looking at each other as people and not as something behind a phone. We take Facebook and we use it to bully each other, and it's not right. You guys are all people. You have feelings, you have kids, and everybody out here has children. We all have skin in the game. We've got to come to some compromise where we can be positive to each other and start looking at each other as people again. It's not going to happen unless we use this opportunity with this gentleman right here to come in and help everybody. Take that into consideration when you speak with him. And please, Mr. Hamilton, take it into consideration that there's a lot of work to be done, but I think it's possible. Like you said, there's not as many disagreeing points that we have with each other. I heard a lot of anger involved. Hey, we got anger involved. That's one thing we got in common. We also have children involved. We also have a lot of feelings. And what you guys need to do is turn that into positive energy. I can't tell you how. That's why the community elected you. They saw something in you that brought to mind change and positivity. You need to remember that, and you need to turn that into something positive for the future of Tecumseh Public Schools. That's what we need. We don't need any more bullying each other or saying rude comments or coming up to this podium and just making speculations or judgment calls. No more. Come on, guys. We've got to hit rock bottom at some point. Please listen to both sides. You were elected by the community. You represent the community. You represent both sides. Unfortunately, you have to keep an open mind to that. I just ask that you consider all sides when making choices, especially when it comes to decisions for leadership. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hutchison, Social and Emotional Learning Consultant for the district. I haven't had an opportunity to really speak directly to you, and so this is a good opportunity to do that. And I'd like to speak conceptually, right? So not about one side or the other, because that's not how it is for me. We have to understand, you know, neuroscience and brain development and the process that we're in. And so I just want to speak this to you as you move forward. You can think about these things. And first, it is true that we have to talk about what systems look like, systems that function in honor versus systems that function in dishonor. And what does that really mean, right? Like, have we researched what that means, and then what happens in systems when they begin to pit against each other? I believe that our hope and our moving forward and our growing is in understanding what it is that we develop within our system, within staff, that allows them to function in honor. And honestly, that means truth. And truth can be fearful. Clinically, we know that people often don't step up and speak truth, or we don't want to hear truth, even if it's a subconscious thing, because we're fearful of what comes out of that. But when we conquer that fear, we recognize that truth actually only catapults us forward. I really believe that, and I believe that for Tecumseh. And there's so much depth to what I can only say generally. What I do want to say to us is, as we consider curriculum, as we consider where we're at and what we hear teachers saying, that we know that cortisol levels, meaning stress hormones, that are flowing in teachers' brains right now as it's difficult, in your brain, in my brain as they come to work every day, absolutely impacts our students. Their cortisol levels mirror the cortisol levels of a teacher in their classroom. So what does that look like for students who are living at those levels of stress hormone, right? So now it's not about any one thing or person, or it's about how do we begin to really think about the environment and how it's impacting our kids. And how does that impact our kids? Because our prefrontal cortex develops under healthy brain chemicals, dopamine and serotonin. But when there's a release and a high release of serotonin and dopamine, too high, and when there's a high release of cortisol, then all of a sudden that prefrontal cortex, all of your executive functioning stops developing or slows development. We have a powerful responsibility right now, and I want to help because we can do good work. We cannot be fearful of truth. We have to hear truth, and we have to move forward. And we have to begin to look at not people's opinions, but what's the neuroscience behind our curriculum? What's the neuroscience behind how we're supporting our staff? What's the neuroscience behind the energy in our environment? I'm here. Utilize me. I get it, and I get it on a clinical level. And I'm thankful that you're hearing me, and I want us to remember that brain impact is happening in our students. So no more is it about this person or that person, this side or that side. It's really about truth. It's about fear, and it's about our kids.
Good morning. I had to look at the clock. I didn't know what time it was. A lot of you people I've known. My name is Albert Flores. I work for Tecumseh Public School. I still work part-time. I love this place. And I can see it in you guys that you're concerned about everything that's happening. And God, I hope, I'm believing myself that I can see that in you guys. And please do the job. Keep these teachers here. They're the best. The best you got here. When the other changes came not too long ago, I went back to the school just to go see how the change has been since you guys have been here. And I could see, like before, the teachers were like this, you know, watching what they were going to say and what they could say and what they couldn't. But now when you guys come in, everything's changed. These teachers have dropped their shoulders and they're so relieved. They're like, they know something new is going to happen at Tecumseh Public Schools. You got a lot of good people here. The administration are awesome. For one instance, I won't say a name. We had one principal at the Compass School. Awesome lady. First time here, okay? From a different town. She went on maternity leave, came back. They put her in another school. She had no clue, and there was a lot of action going on there. I worked there for 4 days and got out of there. I couldn't take it. But this lady hung in there and still is there. That's the good people that you have here. Keep them here. Get this man over here. I know Mr. Hamilton. We grew up together. We kind of, you know, went nose to nose a few times because we were probably in the 70s chasing the same girls, you know. But the guy is good. I can see it. I can just see it. You know, everybody's got their opinion, but please take care of Tecumseh Public School and the staff and everybody. Thank you.
Okay, any board limits, board comment or discussions? Anybody
I have a
want to say
question. How are the surveys coming? Are they back? Because we want to hear from everyone, not just the 1 or 2% of the teachers that show up here. We want to hear from all of them, not just 2% of the parents or whatever that show up here. Because a lot of parents don't show up to board meetings. Thousands don't show up. If all of our parents came here, we wouldn't have enough room. We don't have enough room a lot of times anyway.
Well, I heard that some of the surveys went into people's spam, so I think we'll probably.
Yeah, 'cause I heard there was problems too. Some
Yeah,
people weren't getting it.
so I think what we'll do is, I think if they didn't take it within a certain time, I heard they were supposed to get it again. But I think we need to put out a robocall, maybe a regular email from the Tecumseh school email and saying, please check your spam for this survey.
Okay.
To make sure everybody saw it and can take it, so. Something we can work on.
Okay. So you can't take it twice, right?
You cannot take it twice, so.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
Ladies first.
I was just gonna say, there's been some comments about us not following our campaign promises. Campaign promises were surveys and committees, those are done. The committees are rolling out. The curriculum committees, I think, have gotten their times down, is that correct?
Yeah.
So the curriculum.
There was an email sent out for best times. So
Okay,
yes.
so that, yeah, that's good. So the committees are being rolled out, for those of you that are on it or are curious about it, they're being rolled out in waves. Right now, the curriculum one is the most important, I guess. We've decided that is got to get taken care of ASAP. Hopefully Mr. Hamilton can assist on that. And that will be the first one that gets rolled out, and then we will go from there in order of priority. So if you haven't heard anything from your committee, be prepared, it will be coming soon. The other thing I'd like to say is I was at West this morning for the Guppy Tank event, and that was very cool. So if hopefully you had a chance to stop by and see if your student was in it, or just to see what was going on, but they had a whole school-wide event going, and it was pretty cool.
All right. There were some comments about the vetting of the complaints from the teachers and such, and for full disclosure, we did hear some of those complaints. They weren't formal complaints that were made. They were just rumors, or they were second or third hand, which the board can't act on. We heard second or third hand and start an investigation. Last week I sat down for a few minutes with our HR director, and she revised not the policy, the procedures for reporting complaints against the superintendent. Email was sent out last week to all of the employees in the district. The intent of that was to remove the superintendent from the chain of complaint, whereas I understand the status quo prior to that was that complaints of the superintendent would have to be made to the superintendent. There was a one-page form that was created, and that was to be filled out, go directly to the HR director, and then to the board if it was a personal type complaint, or if it was just a policy and everyday building complaint, it was supposed to go with the HR director for a sit-down meeting to see if they could fix it with the superintendent. I did check prior to Monday's meeting, and I had absolutely 0 of those turned in. The board can't act on a complaint unless it's formally made. And you can make it 2 ways. You can fill out a one-page form, and you can supply it to the HR department, and the superintendent will get paid, placed on non-disciplinary leave, and an investigation occurs. Or you can come in and you can create drama and make a formal complaint to the board in open session, which is what happened. They both lead to the same place. One would have been more preferred because we would be in the same place right now without the misinformation. We wouldn't have the misinformation about teachers being fired that weren't fired. It just simply wouldn't have been out there. And I hope that if there are other complaints between now and the time this investigation starts, I don't care, this investigation is widened out. I don't care what it is, theft from the district, make a complaint. Make a complaint with a piece of paper to the HR department or whoever the person is. If it's a bargaining unit person, they file a grievance. That'll go into this investigation too, and we'll get it sorted out. Everyone's responsible for their actions. It doesn't matter if one person is, if 0 people are, or if 30 people are. It doesn't matter if people have done things that are misconduct to the point that there's severe disciplinary action, or if there's, hey, don't do that again. We need to know about them, and we need to know about them formally so that we can act on them. So please, if you have a complaint, make one through the channel so it can get started, and then it can go through the school district, and then onto the board if necessary, and we can look at it. Because we really do need to fix all of them, no matter what it is. Thank you.
I just want to say one more thing. I have never felt so personally bullied in my life. Just saying.
I just want to say, there's been several comments today that I disagree with. We are the homeowners. We are the parents. We're the business owners. We have everything invested in this community, and that's why we're up here. Mr. Hamilton said it before. I don't need this, but I did this because I saw a need, and I'm doing this for this community and for my kids. That's the only reason I'm up here. No agenda, just this.
And let me just say, we'll make sure that all complaints that we have appropriate notice on whatever the form we're going to investigate them all objectively and make sure that we make decisions based on facts, not based on innuendo and rumor. And I know this board is committed to assuring that whether you make the complaint in open session, whether you make it on a form, or whether it gets to us in a different way, that we want to make sure that everyone's acting appropriately and that no one believes or that there's no substantiated claims of misconduct. This school district, mainly because of its staff, has a reputation, for really doing exceptional work. And we're going to make sure that the policies are followed and that allegations of inappropriate behavior are investigated, all sides objectively, so that you guys can get back to your most important mission, and that's taking care of the kids.
May I ask a question? I'm sorry to be out of line, but how long did the investigators say that this would take?
He said if there was 10 interviews, it could take 2 to 3 weeks, so it's gonna take some time. There's gonna be more than 10 interviews.
And I would caution the board not to respond to questions from the community. Certainly we can, during open session, if board members want to talk to community members afterwards, it makes sense to do, but our advice is not to respond. I will say in terms of these sorts of investigations, I have a lot of experience in them, and sometimes they take on a life of their own because as the investigation occurs, additional allegations are raised that need to be investigated, and we want to make sure that when we're finished here, everything's put on the table and everything's looked at objectively so that the board can make informed decisions. So my guess is looking at the sheer number of complaints that now have been raised on a bunch of different sides. So it's not just one person against another person. It's multiple people have raised complaints. But it's going to take more than 2 weeks to finish this, and it may be a lengthy investigation period. But the recon folks have a reputation for performing their services promptly, prudently, and in a thrifty fashion, as well as being extremely professional.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I felt like I'd speak to enough, so. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Support.
Roll call. Benson.
Aye.
Brooks. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Thank you.
Yes.